Hey, hello everyone. This is him downstairs. Hey, today's episode of Gorilla Spitting 5 is going to be I wouldn't say a downer, but we're going to go in a little bit of a different, well, not even a different direction. As some people may have known, last week or Thursday, excuse me, was my actual birthday, right? And I did have a stream on Saturday. Wasn't I didn't get drunk. I was drinking just a little bit, but I'd say this episode's more somber. It's kind of like the last. I'm always doing like retrospective. Looking at my life retrospectively and saying that the beginning, sort of, this is like the beginning of like who I am, or to let you people know who I am before I get into topics like current topics or topics that I feel that are more relevant to me now than they had been, and maybe say about 10 or 15 years ago. It's this one will be a rambling session because I'm still dealing with a hangover. so and then yeah, so yes, when you're dealing with Japanese whiskey, it's so smooth as hell. It's just like, wow. And you can sip so much you think you're guzzling Gatorade. Well, I'm not a bad man jam like I used to be. So anyway, we'll just get into it. All right, so as you may know from from the last episode, I was mentioning about coming back from my hiatus. I took a hiatus to finish school, and at that time, I even mentioned something that I was a little bit crossed between, should I go back into streaming, should I go back into content creating, besides juggling a bunch of different things that I had no that I really had no. I had structure, but I just wouldn't, I would say, follow through, right? So once I got back into, let's say, streaming, I did another check on myself, to see what I've been watching as far as content creation, not necessarily not from streamers, but just content that I watch from other, I would say, YouTube. And this particular episode is primarily towards YouTube, because that's what I watch. I realized the last 2 or 3 years, I would say, during the pandemic and all that, or even before that, that I watch primarily YouTube. I do not watch. I have all these channels. I have like all these, premium channels that you can get, these streaming channels, and I could let them go by the wayside because I would just watch YouTube. And there was a couple, every few years, no, I would say few years, every few, I would say months. Let me get back on that. Every few months, I would watch primarily, 4 or 5 different YouTube, or let's say, content niches, right? So I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I watched a video game channel because there was a couple YouTubers I thought I love their walkthroughs. I thought they were funny as hell, and that was there was a couple. Then another one would be guns because I'm a gun nut. Another one would be music. I got caught up into because I always like playlists, especially when I work. I can't use my phone, so I always use YouTube as my so-called radio, and it's cheaper that way too. And then lastly, I would say then the other one would be like miscellaneous. So it was always like food, maybe traveling, what else? Yeah, something like that. Just miscellaneous, just whatever was kind of like trending. But I realized in the last, I would say last year, that I just been dissatisfied. Not saying dissatisfied with YouTube, just dissatisfied with myself. I would say, as far as the content I was watching, and I realized, and being a streamer on YouTube, or just having an account on YouTube and being monetized, there's a lot of things that I took the algorithm for granted. Like, there are some things I would watch. Let's say there were a couple of YouTube channels I'd watched based on specific topics, right? And with those topics, there was sort of this group, and I guess I'll go a little bit more in depth. You have like things like the manosphere, which I particularly kind of I understand it, but not necessarily I agree with all of it. And I think that for me, I have to look at it from a mindset like, one, it doesn't apply to me. This manosphere aspect doesn't apply to me. Just because of simple reasons. One, before these individuals were saying these things, I kind of did what these guys did, or before that, I was that generation before. I'm a Generation Xer. So I'm not a boomer. So I'm not there yet. So, and I'm not necessarily a millennial or a Y, Generation Y. So I'm Generation Xer. We were kind of, kind of given both. I believe both sides. We were probably part of the generation that got everything, somewhat done. But then at the same time, we were stepping into the point of being somewhat entitled, right? And anyway, going back to this whole thing with my selection, is that I just been dissatisfied, with talking about, let's say, things about the manosphere. I was into it. I was like, oh, it's cool, interesting topic, cool, interesting knowing about subjects about what men should do or men should be. But then you realize when you deal with a group, and I can even base this on on let's say the military aspect from it, being in a large organization like that, is that you always get these bad apples. You get you get the message out, but then at the same time it gets misappropriated, misconstrued, gets twisted, and then someone's putting logic in it. And then some people are just using it as a grift, like, hey, I'm just trying to get likes and follows and turns into money, right? So, and I know for me, my personality is if I like something, I will research, if I like something or I'm onto something, I will research the hell out of it. I will look into everything, dig it up from the roots and inspect the roots, everything, the dirt, what type of dirt you use, what type of water is it used? Is it by a lake, or what area is it in? Is it whatever it is. And so I was into this whole manosphere thing. I'm not saying I would, not necessarily follow the games. It was just entertainment, just listen to. And after a while, I started realizing that it got toxic, and it started getting toxic to me because it was like, that's all I'm hearing. And if that's all I'm hearing, I'm thinking in that mindset. It just, not applying it because I understand what's real. You can't, some of these things you can't say to certain people or to certain groups or whatever, because then it would be considered negative to a point to be even offensive. So, after that, I just kind of said, let me just get out of this type of group, or get out of it. And I wasn't a person to have my own channel and based on that, like, oh, I'm gonna just copy what everything is. And that was another thing too. I didn't want my content to kind of share the similarities between that and the manosphere, or even connected with that. And then you had the manosphere, then you had the black manosphere, which is completely different because they base some of their ideologies are based from on what it is, about systemic racism, and so it was like I didn't not necessarily know what leg to stand on, but it was like, or what side to pick, what side to choose. I chose neither. So then after that, then let's say the manosphere, and then I realized, I started noticing on my YouTube channel, even when I wasn't necessarily watching these individuals anymore, certain individuals, there's some that I actually liked their content because I thought they really had good points. But then I started noticing that YouTube was pushing like, hey, watch this channel, this is connected to this is connected to this. Sometimes sometimes they would say, oh, all of I don't know, certain people would watch this. Those who watch or who follow this guy will probably watch and follow this person because the viewers that watch him or subs to him mostly watch this one. So, and to me, I always thought that, YouTube, in some ways, the higher ups and stuff were against that. But at the same time, it's all about, it's not about content, it's about profit, And so anyway, I just said, nah, I just need to kind of just get rid of it. It's just kind of, it's like being on Instagram. Like I have an Instagram channel, or I guess Instagram account, right? And I get, and I'm going to say it, I'm a content creator. I have my own logos. I have my own transitions. I have my own pages and stuff. But every day I will get 5 to 10 graphic artists that want to peddle me their stuff. And I'm like, and I look at their stuff and I'm like, seriously, I have a Canva account too. I can do the same damn thing that you just did, but yet you trying to sell me. So I get it. I respect the hustle, but come on, and maybe I just been wanting to say that for a long ass time because it just, I don't know. And sometimes they even questions me like, why I'm even on Instagram, because most of the time that people follow me, it's always this whole what is it? Quid pro quo, Like, oh, I follow you, you're gonna follow me, and then as soon as they follow you, they unsub. It's kind of like that whole follow for follow BS. Like long time ago, like a wise man brought me game upon that and said it's not a good look and doesn't support you, doesn't do anything for you. Before, when I was younger, well, not younger, before I was I was quite naive. I was quite wet behind the ears on that. So anyway, back to YouTube, and yeah, and so I started noticing other, like, besides those particular channels that I was trying to avoid, I started noticing all these other channels and then I would say one particular group that I followed, and I realized that I had to start, like, actually deleting, not only just, some I had to unsubscribe from, but actually deleting some of the channels that YouTube was pushing on to me. I just had to delete it. I just got sick of it because I'm like, okay, let's say it had to talk, let's say, I'll just say a random talk I was watching. I was watching something about, Passport Bros, right? And that's just an interesting group, which I'll probably want to save it to another topic, another gorilla spin. If you care to hear about it, let me know in the comments if you want to hear something about that. Because my view, and I'll say, like, I'll give it about 1 minute on it. I understand the whole thing about expanding your horizons and broadening your horizons and traveling and seeing the world just as an individual period, and even to some groups or some ideal, I would say individuals, that it's good to do that, to expand and broaden your mind, because you don't know what will come in and help you cultivate your character and to be a better person, be the best person that you can be, not just necessarily, staying home. Sometimes it may not just be your environment. It might be something else. But make sure you get right and take care of yourself anyway. So I would see this stuff, and I saw YouTube was pushing it like religiously, this whole Passport Bros thing. And to some people that were taking, that some people were actually, I would say, you have some people out there who are actually good. They have stories to talk to other people about that not necessarily would have been worth, I wouldn't say worth mentioning, but they wouldn't have had the audience or the venue to do it, or even the accessibility, because of that topic, and then now you see it just being somewhat abused. And then at the same time, like I said, I noticed YouTube just kind of pushed everything. If you were interested in a specific country, they pushed that. If you're interested in specific women from that country, they would push that. If you're interested in, let's say, men traveling to a specific country, they push that. They would push every single thing, so you keep watching. So, the last few months, I've just been deleting almost everything. I had to change some of my. There's still people I still subscribe to, but I watch more on YouTube of what to delete, not necessarily what to watch, because if I already subscribed and have notifications, I already know when they're going to come on and when they're going to come on, when they're going to come on. So, and then if they have, let's say, things like Discord or IG, I already know what's going to be on before, so I don't have to necessarily watch it, and so yeah, it's just in some ways it's not necessarily somber, and maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna say. My manager told me not to whine. I don't call this necessarily whining. I'm not whining and begging people to watch me. I'll put that out. It's not about, because to me, people who do that to this extent, it's somewhat of a grift. And to be honest, YouTube is marketed that way. It's marketed in some ways to be a grift, because you cannot succeed or be successful. And when I mean successful, as far as, monetarily successful, unless you are asking for those likes, those hits, those comments, those subs, that's why in some ways I'm reluctant to do that join stuff that's on the YouTube. I don't see the point of it. Everyone else can do what I do, what everyone else does on a, let's say, I'm not saying subpar level, but on a level that I feel is comfortable. I don't need to have, that's how I say it. It's like, I understand, if people want to join, they join. If people want to sub, they sub. I'm not gonna, if you can spend the time, then spend the time. But make sure. My feeling is that hopefully you spend your time wisely. If there's other things that you have better doing than listening to me, then do that. If you gotta, I don't know, spend time with your children or something, or go work out, or something to that nature. Whatever it is, as long as it's cultivating you as a person, cultivating your character, that's, or it's going to extend your life about another 5 or 6, 7 years. Not necessarily that you got to pay bills, but that helps you out. So yeah, I just like I said, I'm still dealing with this hangover. It's just got I got somewhat of knowing migraine and I guess since turning 49, it's like I'm getting to the point of being, I guess, middle age. And so some people might construe this as, or consider this as, well, maybe he's just being an old man, and maybe it's just because he's going into that point of feeling that he might become irrelevant. And relevant in YouTube, maybe. I mean, I still play video games. I mean, I don't necessarily don't have to have. The whole point is that I could decide to flick the switch on and off if you want to get into it. Flick the switch on and off if I want people to watch me or not. As far as everything else, I mean, no. Like I said, like today's episode was primarily just me talking about how I felt about the last few years of content I've been watching, and some of the stuff I've been, like I said, some stuff I've been pleased, and a lot of stuff I realized that if you another stuff I would say, if you watch it so long, that YouTube will try to influence. So any advice I would pass on to the younger generation or peers or even the older generation, if you do YouTube, if you watch primarily YouTube, please counsel yourself. When I say counsel yourself, scrub your list of things that you watch, because YouTube will like to sneak things in there, in and out, and say, hey, watch this, to perpetuate that whatever your thought is. So if you think of this, they're going to exploit it, and when they get in your head, it's just locked down, and that's all you think. And then all of a sudden you start thinking everyone's a right winger, or everyone's a left winger, such. I'll say this: I consider myself a classic liberal. I understand there's the left and then there's the right. There's certain things that I like about the left, there's certain things I like about the right. I just always hold them both accountable, and because I hold myself accountable, so I'm not saying whatever views you do, whatever views you have, I respect that, or regardless of what those thoughts are, so yeah, I guess I ran out of anything to say. So anyway, if you want to catch me or comment, you want to comment about this rambling, because this is all this is, migraine mumbling. I think that's what I'm going to call this episode, migraine mumbling. You can catch me on him downstairs. That's HIMDWNSTARES on Instagram, Twitter, or him downstairs gaming. I gotta change that to him downstairs. I don't like the him downstairs gaming, because that's just so ugh. That's old. I sound like some Chuck E. Cheese type of entertainment place or some shit. Yeah, but change that, or him downstairs at gmail.com. Catch that. You can catch me there, and I'd love to hear from anybody, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, and let me know. And of course, the next Gorilla Spitting episode will be a little bit more towards particular topics, because I want to go, like I said, I got like another minute, and then we gotta go. I gotta go, because people are pointing fingers at me like, get out, let's go. Next topic will be a little bit more focused, instead of this rambling. Every now and then I'll have a ramble, hopefully the next one will, like I said, the next one will be about a particular topic. I did kind of tease everyone, said it would be about sex, Jello. That was just a commercial, but we'll be a little more specific. I don't want to do things like, I think in some ways I would like to talk about something a little bit more hot on the presses. Like I said, the passport bros would be an interesting topic, because now I don't think it's as popular now to talk about it, because I didn't want to talk about it when it was popular just to get clicks and likes, because that's what I saw a lot of leeches do that, and to me that was just, I was unimpressed. Anyway, that's about it. Catch me later, and you know my motto: stay focused, never settle, and good hunting. Him downstairs out.